Welcome back, bitches. I'm Lindsey,
And I'm Skyler.
and this is the No Literally podcast.
If you missed out on our Valentine's Day episode, make sure you go and give it a listen. Our listeners sent in their worst dating horror stories, and the tea was hot.
Piping hot. This week, we are going to dive into some deep questions about our hosts so you can get to know us on a more personal level.
I'm excited.
Yeah, these were some good questions. So,
All right, Lindsey, what's a belief or perspective you've changed your mind about in the last 5 years?
So this actually is an easy one for me. In the last 5 years, I really started learning more about law of attraction and manifesting and the energy you put out is the energy that you get back, things like that. And I started listening to this podcast, and it was really at a time of desperation. I was just so tired of having such a negative mindset about everything and thinking nothing good happens to me. I have the worst luck. And so I started listening to this podcast, and it really altered my brain chemistry. It does take a lot of work because when you've spent almost 30 years in one mindset, I have to really put in a lot of effort to see things differently. But now it's gotten so much easier that it's made my life so much better. Even if things don't happen the way that I want them to, or, shit still happens, I'm like, there is something to learn from this, regardless of what it is, regardless of, whether or not it's hard, there is something that I could be learning from it.
I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
I think the way that I view things, kind of like you, I was always so negative, and perspective really is everything. So kind of just showing more gratitude for what I do have.
Yes.
And, even seeing when things don't go my way, okay, what is the reason? There's a reason.
Yeah.
And just trying to find something good in that situation.
Right.
Before it was just oh, why me, poor me, really kind of in that victim mentality.
Exactly.
And so I think just opening my eyes and being hey, this could be protecting you from something,
Right.
or this is redirection.
Yep.
So kind of just that perspective is everything. And I think once you learn to change your perspective, so much in your life changes.
For sure. I try to really think about everything as it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And it's funny because I remember the year before we moved up to Phoenix, I swore was the worst year of my life. I had quit my second job. I had AJ. I had my own apartment. I quit my second job a couple months before Christmas. So I didn't really realize how much that second job was helping me financially. And so I was struggling. And then it was right before Christmas, the battery in my car died. I think I had to get new tires. Shit just kept happening. And so I saw my Facebook memories, I was oh, of course this would fucking happen right before Christmas. I was such a negative Nancy about it. And now, if something like that were to happen, it's what could have happened had this not happened right now? That, my
Right.
car situation that I had in Tucson last week, I was who knows? This was obviously going to happen at some point.
Right.
It could have happened when I was on the freeway, driving AJ to her dad, and it's just me and the kids, and I don't have anybody, down the street with a trailer to pick me up.
Right.
It could have been so much worse. And so I always think back to that particular year that's just once upon a time, I would have thought about it so differently. But
yeah, I agree. And I always think too, okay, what if this happened so this didn't happen? What if the car broke down right here, but if I would have kept going, I would have been in a 15-car pileup on the freeway.
Yeah.
And just kind of looking at it like that, I mean, that's still kind of a crazy way to think, but it helps the situation feel better. This weekend I was going to Target with my niece and nephew, and I got in my car, and it's rear tire pressure low, and there was a nail in my tire, and I had both kids in the car. And so I was damn it. So I had to turn around. But it's just the old me would have been so mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I was frustrated. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the end of the world.
Important to still give yourself room to have those feelings. Of course it's annoying and it's an inconvenience. But in the grand scheme of things, it could be so much worse. I'd rather pay $400 to get my car fixed than, you know, potentially have thousands of dollars in hospital bills because I got in a car accident, or be paying for a funeral
Yeah.
for my kids, like anything like that. I would much rather take that $400 inconvenience over anything far worse.
I agree. I agree.
Good question. Okay, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think I would do stop trying to control them
Yes.
and like solely live for you. I feel like I spent a lot of my younger years trying to prove my worthiness to people, friendships, relationships, just anyone in general. And I feel like now when I look back at it, I'm like, I took so much away from the younger me. Like,
Absolutely.
I didn't enjoy high school because I was so concerned about my relationship or boys or my friendships, and just trying to like put on this image that I was so happy and that like I was enough. Like, I think I would just tell myself, like, just live, just don't date, have fun. Like, these are the years I feel like that shape you so much as an individual that who fucking cares? Like, who cares what they think? After high school, you don't even talk to half of those people anymore. 99% of the time, that relationship doesn't even work out anyway. So like,
Yeah.
just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, I would just wish I could tell her, like, bitch, stop.
I know. It's so hard though, like as a, when you're that age, you're so impressionable, and I think that's really when it's important to have people around you, like, as a parent, really encouraging your child to be that way. Parents don't not encourage their kids to be that way
Right.
out of like, they don't even know that they're doing it or not doing it. You know what I mean?
And I can't even tell you like how many times my parents begged me to just do what Skyler wants when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But like, it was to the point where I tried so hard to make such a strong impression on people around me and like prove my worthiness that I stopped playing high school sports. Half the time I didn't even show up to school. Like,
Yeah.
I think my senior year of high school is like 180 days. I maybe went to 80 of them. And the person in high school that you like perceive yourself to be, like, you're not even that person.
No.
Like, you just want to, I don't know. It's stupid as hell, but like, I wish I could just tell her, stop. Who cares what they think?
Yeah.
But I feel like even in elementary school and high school, you care so much about other people's opinions. And then you grow up and you're like, that was a dumb, like, I regret it.
No, yeah.
100%. I mean, nothing I can do about it now. But if you're a high schooler listening to this, please just know that who gives a fuck what they think about you, honestly.
This period of your life is so temporary, and it's not even going to be a thought in your mind in 5-10 years.
I always say, like, I'll be talking to my sister. I want to set a rule for my future child of like, don't date in high school. Just have fun. Like, party, live it up, do what you have to do. Like, just make the most fucking memories, because that's something I truthfully wish I would have done.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think very similar to you. I would tell myself to I would tell myself to not dim my light because of others. There were so many choices that I made because of the opinion of others that really changed the trajectory of my life. I met AJ's dad during a time when, had I followed the plan I had 6 months prior to that for myself, I would not have even been in the city of Tucson. I would have been elsewhere, doing what I wanted to do. But at that time, I had a high school boyfriend who was a grade below me and didn't want me to leave without him. He wanted us to go together. Behold, we ended up breaking up after I graduated high school anyway. So I made such a major decision based on somebody else. If we were meant to be, it would have been, regardless of where I was.
Right.
And so I really, I really think back on that. And again, who knows, something far more difficult could have happened had I done that. But I wish that I would have been more confident in myself and my decision. But also, my family wasn't supportive of me leaving. So I didn't have anyone that was like, go do what you want to do and what makes you happy. And so naturally that's what I did, is I made my choices based on the opinions of others. And something that we tell AJ, because her dad doesn't ever want her to leave Arizona. And we're like, please go all of the places. We will support you. We will come visit you wherever you are. Go do it all. And then you will decide what, that's the only way you're going to decide what you want to do, is to do everything and then really dial it in from there.
I think especially too, like being young and having no kids, and I take this on myself as well, is like, the world is yours, honestly. Like, you have no kids, you have a job, but like, you can get a job anywhere. At this age, like, there is nothing holding you back from seeing what you want to see, experiencing new places, meeting people you never thought you would meet. Like, I think that taking your 20s, not all of your 20s, obviously, some people's lives play out a little different, but if you have the opportunity and you don't have children and you have nothing holding you back, like, go fucking live. Be everything. This last year, especially because Dalen travels for work, I have been to more states than I can even count. Like, met the most amazing people, seen the coolest things. And it's just like, wow, like, I wish everyone got to experience this, because it's so freeing to leave where you're from.
Yeah. And when I look back at, when I was young, I had a very clear picture of what I wanted out of life. I knew that I wanted to leave home. I knew that I wanted to do bigger and better things. Seeing my dad, who came from nothing, accomplish everything that he did, really was a big motivating factor for me. And I wish that I would not have second thought that and just gone for it. So I will always be a big advocate for, when you are of age and you want to make, certain choices, do it, as long as it's not going to be detrimental to your, don't go smoke meth. 10 out of 10 don't recommend that. But like, if you want to go, move somewhere or try a job or go, pursue education in something, like, go do it. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's still, even as an adult, every choice that I make is not with 100% certainty that it's going to work out. So yeah, I just like that. I wish that I would have been more confident, because I was a very confident person. But I also second guessed everything because everyone around me was second guessing those choices.
And I think that's where, like, growing up, we're so scared of failure, right? But then you reach an age and you're like, okay, the worst thing that can happen is I can fail.
Right.
Like, failure is not as scary as it seems when you're growing up. And you think that if you fail, everyone's going to be like, look at her, she fucking failed. She couldn't. But it's not scary.
It's necessary.
It is.
Failure is healthy. And that's the way that you learn. That's the way that we learn anything in life.
Yeah.
Like, you cook something and it doesn't quite work out that way, you try it a different way.
Yeah.
Like, if failure is necessary, and I think any successful person would say the same.
As long as you move on from it. Like, you fail, you keep going. You don't fail, and you don't just sit there and self-wallow in your...
Yeah, and don't keep making the same exact failure. You fail, try something new. If that fails, then you just keep progressing until something eventually works.
Yes.
But don't just continue to fail the exact same way. Do something about it.
Agreed.
So what's next?
All right. What is a personal failure or setback that ended up being a blessing in disguise?
Honestly, I would have to say getting promoted at my healthcare job. It was not something that I was pursuing. I mean, it was eventually that's what I wanted. But in the moment that it happened for me, it wasn't something I was interested in. My leadership was like, Lindsey, you need to do this. This is what you've been working for. This is what you're ready for. You need to do it. And that was one of the hardest years that I ever had. And ultimately it drove me to quit my job in healthcare and start my business. And so now that it's been several years and I've kind of gotten out of the headspace of, like it ruined me, ended up truly being the most beautiful thing that could have happened to me, because I wouldn't be here right now had that never happened. So, what about you?
This is so hard. Like, how do you pick one?
I know. I mean, there's a lot, but
I would say a setback would probably be being forced to live alone for the first time in my life when I didn't feel I was ready, but I didn't have a choice. Like, that was the only option. And I'll say that because, like, financially, it made me have to be ready. I had no choice but to work so much harder.
Yeah.
Because, well, mom and dad aren't paying your bills. So, like, if you don't pay your rent, you and your dog have nowhere to fucking go.
That'll do it.
So I think, how old was I? I think I was 24. Wasn't a bad age, but like I went to college after high school and racked myself up in so much debt. So it's like I had a lot of that to handle. And then I had to live on my own. Like I didn't have any other option. Also, I want to put out there that I am codependent as fuck when it comes to, well, I guess I should say I was codependent as fuck when it comes to living alone. I had never lived alone before in my life. You guys, I slept with my parents until I was like 15 years old because I'm scared of the dark. Like,
Really?
I have a irrational fears, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, my parents finally kicked me out of their bed because I was kicking them off the bed and, like,
You were literally sleeping in their bed
yeah.
with them?
So when they kicked me off the bed, I made a bed with blankets on the floor next to their bed because I don't know. I don't like to be alone. Well, I didn't. So being alone, living alone was scary. When I was in the hood, I was like off 99th and Camelback. I heard gunshots every single night.
Oh.
That's fine. And then, so it really forced me to grow as a human. But I think it forced me to grow to the point where like now I have a hard time living with other people because oh my God, the silence is so fucking nice. So I think that setback was really a blessing for me because it taught me to be more independent.
Yeah.
And kind of forced me to learn how to navigate life without always having someone there.
Right. That's a good one. 99th Avenue in Camelback. That's a tough one.
Girl, I was so scared.
The area too.
I was like, I have this expensive ass dog. I live in the ghetto. There's tweakers everywhere. Like, they're probably like, we're going to rob her.
No, literally. Oh my gosh. That is, well, you made it. You survived.
I made it. Thank God. I only moved out there like a year and a half ago.
Before you moved into the house. She's a survivor. OMG. Okay. What is a value or principle that guides most of your decisions?
I would say compassion, probably, because I have always been a pretty like cutthroat, unempathetic human being. That's just how I was raised.
Yes.
And so I feel like I've lacked quite a bit of compassion and like empathy for people. I have a very hard time understanding empathy.
Right.
So now as I'm getting older and like growing and just like therapy is kind of helping teach me that like when you are compassionate about something and when it genuinely comes from your heart, it's not going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And if it does, it's not going to go seriously wrong. But like compassion is hard for me to understand. So I try and force myself to lead with that because the more I practice it, the more it's going to come.
Right.
And so, yeah, I would say compassion. What about you?
Honestly, I'm right there. I feel like we're so similar in that aspect that like we were raised to be such like stone cold human beings that now, being that way just takes a lot more effort. And I think also like side note, just because it takes someone a little more effort to do those things, like we are actively unlearning what, decades of life taught us. And so giving others grace, for sure. And again, like, still feel your feelings. And, if your immediate reaction is to be frustrated, but like also take time to reflect on that. And so I would say mine's like very similar. And, I think just something, I don't care what anybody's beliefs are. I don't care, I don't care as long as you are a good person.
Exactly.
And you don't make decisions solely based on what is going to be beneficial for you. I think there is room for those times, but just be a good human. I don't care what you believe in what your values are, as long as it consists of being a good human. I don't care if you're left, right, wherever.
And another thing too, I think should be said is like, if you know somebody who maybe wasn't raised with the characteristic of being empathetic and having sympathy for others and just kind of like hide your feelings cold-hearted, how we kind of were raised.
Defense mechanism.
I think that you should also learn to give them grace as well, because like it is really, really hard to try and navigate life trying to feel and talk about feelings when you've never been able to do that in your life.
Right.
Like, it is extremely freaking hard. So if you know someone who's going through that and navigating that, like, give them an extra bit of love too, because it is extremely hard out here.
Or just really like be honest with them. I mean, I will say that like my honesty and straightforwardness in my friendships has really caused a lot of issues. And I don't know that I want to call them issues, but it's definitely
Conflict, maybe.
Yeah, I am a very honest and straightforward
Same.
person. And I think too, because for me, there's nothing you can say or do that's gonna embarrass me, because like I'll tell you what I said, I'll tell you what I did. Like for me, there's nothing I'm trying to hide from other people. And so like I had a friend who she had a boyfriend, and these two were crazy together. And they knew that. She knew that. But anytime I ever said that around other people, she would get so butthurt. She'd be like, Lindsey, we're not. And it's like, no, you literally are. Like, we just talked about this 2 days ago. And you said, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And so like, but other people don't view it the same. Like there are secrets that people are trying to keep from others.
Well, and I'm just like, don't make me read in between the lines, because then I'm going to be pissed off. And like, it just, like you said, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Straight up, tell me what the issue is. Tell me how you're feeling. If you don't tell me, I'm not the type of person who's going to sit around and try and guess.
Right.
You didn't tell me, everything's fine.
Right.
Like, it's not, like, I just don't have the time or energy for that.
Well, and because I'm going to tell you black and white what the issue is. I'm going to be honest with you, but because not everybody is that way, I kind of have a hard time seeing like, oh, well, what was wrong that I said? Because I stand what I said.
And I think that's also like a learning curve we have to like try and get ourselves to think of as well. Like, okay, well, like not everyone, I don't want to say has the courage, but not everyone feels comfortable expressing their feelings without kind of like sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, if you sugarcoat it for me, I'm going to be like, oh, whatever. Like, it ain't that bad. Like,
for me, it's no big deal. It's literally in my mind going to be no big deal.
Agreed.
But don't tell me it's no big deal and then go and tell everybody else that it is a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to take what you say at face value as I expect you to take what I say at face value, because what I say is what I mean. And so I have a hard time understanding like that someone might have an issue with me because I was honest and straightforward. And learning to be
right,
open to that. But kind of like what Skyler said, if you know somebody that way, like give them a little bit of grace and maybe take that as a learning opportunity to kind of speak their language a little bit. Like that's ultimately at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, is just
figure each other out. Yeah.
And you know, if you don't want to coexist with someone, that's okay. But if you do, want to coexist with them, you do have to kind of learn how to speak their language.
I agree. And I think too, like, that's why we get along so well, because like if I don't like something or if you don't like something, it's like, hey, I don't really like this. And it's like, okay, move on to the next. What do we both like? Like,
Right, exactly.
it's not like,
Yeah, it's not like, well,
hey, why don't you like this?
Yeah.
Like, what's your issue?
Nothing, it's
No.
not serious.
Yeah.
Like nothing like that, we say is, like if you don't agree with this, it's like, okay, well then let's,
Yeah.
what else can we do that?
But like no one's feelings are hurt. It's awesome. I'm not gonna go cry about it for 7 days in the corner.
Yeah. Skyler didn't like my podcast topic. It's like, maybe not. Let's move on. Let's try something else. Like it's
like not serious, like.
Yeah, but I guess you know what? Like there's someone for everyone.
Yeah.
So like people that may, be a little more sensitive and need a lot more compassion, they're gonna find those people that can give it to them.
Yeah.
I am unfortunately not the one. But I try.
Same.
I really do try.
We're trying. Okay, that's all that matters. All right, next question. What do you struggle with that people wouldn't expect?
That people would not expect. I think again it's hard because like I am such an open book that like anything that I struggle with, like everybody knows it. You know what I mean? But
I think like, and maybe if people do expect it, I don't know, but a lot of people I've talked to don't. Being vulnerable, that one's hard for me.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about my feelings. I just don't. It's uncomfortable for me because of, again, the way we were raised. This kind of piggybacks off the last topic. But being vulnerable, and I will say that most people won't expect this, but like I am a little emotional. I'm a Cancer. For the most part, though, like things don't bug me, but there's a couple of things that I get really sensitive about. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I ever felt emotion really. But the older I get, the more I find myself being pretty like emotional about life. Not like little stupid things, but like family and like kids and houses, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I get pretty emotional about.
Yeah. I mean, I think like when it comes to really, really difficult things, like I don't necessarily hide the fact that difficult things are happening, but I do think I hide like how they affect me.
Same.
I will not, for being such an open and honest person, like that is one thing that I really avoid doing is like
showing like emotion to people, showing like hurting emotions to people.
Well, and it's because I don't want to be a burden to anybody.
Yeah.
And like, I even do this with my husband. Like, I don't want anyone else to carry my burdens. And so I will really like do the most to avoid other people seeing that like something is going on. Like if I get a flat tire, like that's fine. But like if shit is really going,
if my heart is hurting, yeah.
Yeah. And like so I think like I am quick to be honest when I'm like frustrated or something like that, but when I'm like genuinely hurt, it will be difficult for me to share that for sure.
I think same. I think I've maybe cried in front of 3 people in my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't like, chances are you will never see me cry. I mean, if it's happy tears, that's different.
Yeah.
But like if I'm genuinely hurt and you see me crying, like just know you fucked up something fierce, because I do not cry in front of everyone. Like I will sit in my car, scream my eyes out bloody murder and have a good cry sesh or get in the shower. But like to cry in front of another human being,
Ew.
I really have to be like, pretty low with that. So like I feel that too, because I'm the same way. Like I don't ever want to feel like a burden to someone, or I don't ever want someone to feel like they have to help me. But at the same time too, it's like kind of shitty because I'm like, okay, well, we have this community and we have these people who are willing to help us. But like, how do you get through in your head that like, that's what they're there for,
Yeah.
Like I'll still feel like a problem. Maybe that's like a growth thing we need to get through, but
yeah. And it's really like just like those deep wounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, not that they're a secret, but I'm not going to share how they affected me. Like if I think you said something bitchy, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'll tell you, but anything that's like really deep, And Ian's the same way. Like, he does not. And it's something that we have to really work on with each other. Like, if something I did, makes him feel some type of way, like, we will give each other the silent treatment for days. But we try to, like, take a moment and say, hey, I need to let you know how this made me feel. And, sometimes it's hard for one another to, like, understand what it is. But, just because you don't necessarily agree and you don't think that it should have affected them that way, like, it's still important for you to communicate that.
Girl, nothing pisses me off more than the silent treatment. Oh boy, that gets my blood boiling. But I agree, because like Dalen and I hardly ever fight, whatever. And if we do, like, it's about stupid shit. But we got into like a disagreement about something a couple weeks ago, and genuinely, he really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And like, it was something about a TV placement somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't talking on the way home, and he was like, well, what's wrong with you? And I just kept saying, nothing. Yeah. Like, I wasn't ready to talk about it yet because I was so upset by it. But, and then I finally told him, and I was like, look, that really hurt my feelings. And he was obviously very apologetic about it. Like, he felt bad. He didn't mean it in the way that I had taken it. But even to like open up and talk about feelings like that with like my partner is extremely hard.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just trying to be better about it, because I don't want it to hold it inside and then one day just.
How do you define success, and has that changed over time?
Okay, success to me would be having the freedom to do what I want, go see what I want, travel, and just be able to spend time with family. And I think that's really changed, because like growing up, success to me was, hell yeah, I want to make millions of dollars. I want money. And like over time, as you grow up, you really realize those things change. Like, I want nothing more but to be able to spend quality time with my loved ones. I'm so thankful that the job I have now allows me to take time off and go travel and see what I want and spend time with family. Yeah. So I think success to me would just be that, like having the freedom to enjoy the life I have, and not money, because the money will come. But like, I'd rather have that time with family and friends and travel and all of that.
I agree with you. I think for a long time it was money. I think that's just a natural progression of the definition of success, and now it's like you just having the flexibility for life to happen without, having to worry about work.
Or getting fired. Or like, my boss is going to be so mad at me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, who fucking cares? It is not that serious. Like,
but so many people really base all of their decisions around work. And I mean, naturally so, because that's how we've all been conditioned to be.
And that like honestly breaks my heart so much, because like, I mean, at one point I did too, before I became my own boss. And it's just like
how many things do you have to miss out on because of work? AJ's dad is that way. He is very money driven. He is a single dad. And so he is the only one that pays the bills in his home. So understandably, you do have to be that way to a certain degree.
Right.
But so many things have been missed because of the importance of work. And I think, if it's important for you to be part of important life events, even if you don't have kids, you have to prioritize that when finding a job. If your boss is like, no, you have to miss that because you have to work, then that's not the type of employment you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, any boss in their right mind would not say, oh yeah, you have to miss your daughter's first day of kindergarten because you have to work, Yeah.
And I think like, if that's a job you have to work in the meantime, like to get by before you find another step in your journey to get you to where you want to be, by so means, like there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I would highly encourage everyone to find a job if you can, or become a business owner, or just have that flexibility. Like being a business owner too, like, yeah, I might work 7 days a week as well, but like I have the luxury to do it from here. Like I can still go to my nieces and nephews' Christmas dances or birthday parties and be a part of their life and travel. So like, think if I think life's too short to stress about that. And I highly encourage everyone to just like live and not just work. And I see like so many people, especially my age, that are so money hungry and like the money drives every force that they have. And like, I get it. But at the end of the day, like there's so much more to life than that.
For sure. Yeah. And, that there are going to be situations where that's easier said than,
yeah, for sure.
Everybody's circumstance is going to be unique, but generally, if you want to, you will. And you really just have to put the focus in, finding something like that for yourself eventually.
But also, like, there's people who just love to work and that's what they love and that's what they do. And like, hell yeah, like, good for you, honestly. Like, if that's what you love, cool. So, like, have at it.
For sure.
But just like, I think for me in my life, that's just,
yeah,
that ain't it.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to find. If you love to work, go for it.
All right. Is this our last one?
I think so.
Sure is. Last question of the day. What part of yourself you're still learning to accept?
What is a part of myself that I'm still learning to accept? I think really that I can't do everything. Like I don't have the knowledge to do everything. I don't have the physical and mental capacity to do everything as much as I want to.
That's good.
Like I just don't. And so learning to accept that and navigate it accordingly has been such a beautiful thing, because I have stretched myself so thin at so many times in my life. And now it's just like, can I on this other thing and still have balance? Like that's a conversation that I'm having, with myself now when new things come up, whether it be business wise or anything.
Right.
Like, is this going to jeopardize the balance that I have been able to find? And if so, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it.
Right. Wow.
Because I've been doing everything. And I also learning how to do things, like I do not have the time to be learning anything else right now. Like,
I am booked and busy.
It's just like I am learning so many.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sit down and take the time that I want to, learn how to use my freaking camera and to
I think you're doing great.
So I'm doing okay with what I have.
But no more.
Like right now, I would love to learn how to do it all, but I am just not going to put my focus in that right now. And that's okay. I will eventually have the time to pursue all the hobbies, just not right now.
I love that. Me as well.
What about you?
What's a part of myself I'm still learning to accept? I feel like there's so many, but I'll go with the one that's been the hardest. I think being in my feminine era, that's really hard for me because I spent so many years being in my masculine, have to handle shit,
alpha,
have to watch out for myself era, especially because of past relationships and just the way I was raised, we didn't really talk about feelings and stuff.
Right.
So I've spent a lot of time in my masculine fight or flight era.
Yeah.
And so kind of just to be with someone who takes care of you and provides for you, from switching that okay, let him be the man that he can be, that he showed you he can be, to no, you have to do it all, is really extremely hard.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, before it was no, I got it. You don't need to do shit. But it's also before it was I don't want to be a mom. I don't want kids. I don't want to be a wife. I don't want to be any of this. And so for all of that to change and change so late in life, not so late, but later in life than what normal girls experience that at. I'm 26 and for the first time in my life, I'm yeah, I could be a mom. Yeah, I could be a wife. Yes, I will let a man not 100% provide for me, but take care of me in the way that a man should.
Right.
So that's been really hard to doubt.
No, I can relate because
it's extremely hard, and it's something you've never experienced before.
Right.
So for all of that to change at 26 years old is weird.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it feels so good. Like, I feel like my load is lessened because I know that I have a man who actually wants to be a man
Right.
for the first time ever and take care of me in ways I've never been taken care of before. But it's also, like, really hard to shut my mouth and not.
You knew what he was getting
Yeah,
to.
he did.
So he's going to give you the great
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
get that figured out.
Yeah. So it's hard, but like I always still want to like bite back, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, let him be the man. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to be the man here anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's my feminine era is extremely hard for me to accept.
For
but
sure.
we're doing it with grace, and it's honestly not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
It's relaxing.
Yeah.
But
well, it's nice when you finally get to that point where you're okay with it without thinking like,
Think
"When's
bad.
the shoe gonna drop?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when people are willing to help you without conditions, like that is such a crazy thing for me. Like I don't ask for help. I will.
Me either.
Would rather chew my own toenails off one by one than admit that I need help.
Same.
That has been such a difficult thing for me to, and I still struggle with it now. I will really do the most to try to find the answer or do it myself before I actually ask. And so yeah, I feel that 100%.
Yeah, it's hard to ask for help for sure. And like, I don't think I've ever really asked him for help, but it's more like I will say something and the way he just remembers and then provides for like, you know what I mean? But it's like, I'll tell you something I'm struggling with, like, especially if you're my partner, but that is not me asking you for help.
Right.
That is me venting. Whether you choose to help out of my vent sesh or not is up to you. But like, yeah,
it's not me asking.
I can never like, damn, I really need help. No.
He probably knows that about you though. And so if you do say something, like, he's going to help you.
Yeah.
Because he knows that you won't just like ask him.
Yeah.
I love that. We
shout out to being
a king, Dylan.
Feminine era, I guess, is what they call it, right? It only took me 26 years.
Hey, better late than never.
Exactly.
People never get there, and it ruins like everything in their life. So
yeah, like you can literally just be a girl when you're in your feminine era. Wow. So nice. What a fucking life.
I know.
I'm like, okay, you're cooking me a steak dinner. Thank you.
And you're going to pay my bills. Thank you.
Oh, man.
All right. Those were good questions.
Yeah, that was. Thank you guys so much for spending your Wednesday morning with us. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Episodes are released every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Arizona time.
You can find us on TikTok at No Literally Podcast or Instagram at noliterally.podcast. Follow along there. You can also find Skyler's business and personal Instagram info in the bio as well as mine. So thank you so much for listening. Bye. Bye.